Hello, everyone. This is Reza Dorrani, and this is Live with Reza. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all the wonderful feedback that you have provided to me as part of the last live session. I have received a lot of messages, a lot of comments, folks who've tried on the hands-on labs, folks who've gone all out building solutions, building apps, and thank you so much for all the love. I have with me today someone who was extremely active in the first live session, and that is none other than my very good friend Daniel Christian, and I'm honored to have him today here live on the call with me. So he is on my side this time. Hi Dan, and welcome to the live session.
Hey everyone. This is Reza's moment, so I am just here to assist him. But it's just been such a blessing to see this guy grow. I'm gonna make it very clear. I am Reza's #1 fan. Everybody else can be 2 or whatever, but I'm his #1 fan. Hey, and I'm just excited to be here, just to let this guy shine, man. So
thank you, Dan. It's an absolute honor to have you here. And guess what? Dan is going to be here answering questions. He has a lot more access. He's going to be posting links. So watch out for Daniel Christian in the chat today. And thank you, Dan, once again for joining us today. Okay, so what are we doing today in this live session? We are going to be building a Power App step by step inside Microsoft Teams. This is a continuation of my Microsoft Dataverse for Teams live series. However, if you missed the first session, no problem. This is a beginner's level session. So even if you missed the first session, you can easily catch up in this session. The link to download the lab materials is available right there at the bottom and the ticker that's running. The link is bit.ly/DVT Dataverse for Teams lab share, DVT lab share. The link is case sensitive, so please be sure that you are accessing the link correctly. Once you access that link, you will get access to the hands-on lab content. Now, let me switch over to the content screen here so I can show you what happens when you access that link. One more thing I wanted to do was remove this banner. All right. So when you access that link, which is bit.ly/DVT lab share, this is the OneDrive location which will have my presentation and the lab material. So I want you to open the PDF document that says Lab Power Apps Dataverse for Teams. And in this is a PDF document that will walk you step by step for creating a Power App inside of Microsoft Teams. The scenario here is a help desk solution for Microsoft Teams. And as part of the next 3 live events, including this one, we will build a full-fledged help desk Power Platform solution. We will build a Power App so users or Microsoft Team users can come into the app, create tickets, and check the status of their tickets. In the next session, we will build a flows to add automation approvals on the tickets that come in. And then in the third session, we will build a chatbot that will give the users an option to interact with the bot so they can ask certain questions to the bot regarding their tickets, and the bot will provide the users with a response. So that's the goal of the hands-on lab. Today's focus is purely on Power Apps. So we're going to focus on building an app inside Microsoft Teams step by step by following all of the steps in this lab. If you've already executed these steps prior to the call, I would still recommend you to be here because we will not only execute it, but on the fly, I'll try and make certain other modifications to it that are not included in the hands-on lab. Plus, of course, this is a live session. Make sure you ask your questions. If you have any questions, post those in the chat. Put a Q in front of your question. Just put Q:, post your question so we know it's a question. And as and when we stop to take questions, we will look at your questions live and try and answer them to the best we can. All right, now let's get started with building Power Apps. Okay, so here I am in my Microsoft Teams environment, and for building Power Apps in Teams, you need an Office license, basically a license that has access to Microsoft Teams. And the way we get started is we go to Apps in Microsoft Teams, and inside Apps, you can search for Power Apps. And here we have the Power Apps app that you can select and install. In my case, I already have this installed, so I can see this live right here on the left-hand navigation pane. I can right-click on this and I can pin this, so I have this ready at all times. Now the key here is, if you do not have access, if your tenant admin has blocked this app, or maybe you don't have a valid license, how do you go about building apps inside Teams? Now, Microsoft offers a M365 developer program that you can sign up for today. Dan will be posting these links in the chat. With this, the advantage you get is you get your own private tenant, which is like a sandbox with all the tools and resources you need, from SharePoint to Teams to Power Platform, all things M365 for free. Also, inside your tenant, if you would like to take advantage of a lot of the premium features that require premium licensing, you can also sign up for the Power Apps community plan. This is again a free plan for individuals who would like to explore, learn, and build their skills on the Power Platform. So I will highly recommend you to go ahead and create your own tenant if you don't have one. Plus, you can also go and sign up for a community plan. You can follow the steps in this session and then execute it later. This video will be available for on-demand viewing on my YouTube channel after the session ends. Okay, now that we've set this up, I'm just going to try and see if there are any specific questions before we begin this live session. So I'll switch back to my view and try and see if we have any questions here. I see a lot of folks posting about having access, no limits, looking forward to the session. And yes, this event is happening. Reza forgot to hit the live button. Reza and Dan actually recorded for 5 minutes, welcomed everyone, and we forgot. So we are live now, and this event is definitely happening, and I can see the numbers growing. So if some folks are thinking that we missed this event, no, we did not. We were right here. Sorry. Okay. Are we building using the community plan is one of the questions that Vinay is asking. We are building in Microsoft Teams. As long as you can access Teams with any account that you have, as long as you can install that Power Apps app and start building apps for Teams, you are good to go. You don't have to build using any community plan. That was just for folks who do not have access to any tenant. Here's another question from Emil. Do I need the same level of permission as when I'm building a table form within Power Apps? As long as you are a member or an owner of a Microsoft team, you can build those tables inside Dataverse for Teams. One more question from Muthu, that is, this community plan includes Microsoft Flow, which is Power Automate now? And the answer is yes, it includes Power Automate as well. Power Automate, Power Apps, the whole Power Platform spectrum is included. You even get Dataverse, which is a premium connector for free just to try out. All right, I think we have answered most of the questions around access. So I will move back to the screen share and we will continue with the hands-on lab now. So in Teams, I have a Microsoft team that I created last week, a very basic team called Live Team. And we will try and build a help desk solution for this team. So to get started, I will go to the Power Apps app inside Microsoft Teams. And the first step here is for me to give a name to this Power App. Now I'm looking at the hands-on lab, so I'm going to follow this step by step. If you followed all the steps to creating the team and you head over to the app, the first step is to name your Power App. Now you can always rename your Power App later, but ensure that you name it right the first time. So I'm going to call this my Help Desk app. I'm going to give my app a name and click save. Now for folks who go to Power Apps here and do not see this experience, you will probably be here on the Home tab. So how do I get started? Just click on Start Now. Just click on this button. Select your Microsoft team. You can search for it right here and click Create. And this will begin the process of creating the Power App for you. And this is where I will plug in the name of my app. I will click Save. So I've just added a name for my Power App. Next, I want to get started with creating tables. I want to store data. I need a data source. I am building this in Dataverse for Teams. I already have Dataverse available within Teams for free at no additional licensing cost. So I'm going to leverage that for storing ticket information. And for that, on the left-hand navigation rail, I'll head over to Data. And right here inside Data, I will click on Create New Table. I will give my table a name. I will be storing tickets. So I'm going to give this a name called Ticket, and I will click Create. So this has created a table for me called Tickets. And in this, by default, you will get a column, which is like the primary key of this table. It's called Name. And within this now is where I want to store metadata associated with my ticket. So when the user creates a ticket, I want the user to fill out a specific form, and those forms have specific columns. That's what I'm trying to create in this specific table. Now, I want the user to give me a name associated with the ticket that's like a title. Plus, I'm going to click on this icon and add a column called description of type text. Now, text is a single line of text. You see, I don't have any option here for multi-lines of text, but you can head over to advanced options and you can increase the length of your column right here. So maybe I want to give this 200. I want to give this additional length so users can put in the description. I'll set that up and click Create. So I've created a second column called description. Now, every ticket that gets created, I would like to add a unique identity or a unique number associated with my ticket, which I would like to call as the ticket number. So I'll create another column. I will call this ticket number. And here I will pick a column type in Dataverse called auto number. And this defines an automatic number for us, which gets generated based on any number sequence that you define. So if I go to advanced options, you see I can define a number sequence here. Currently, it's going to start from 1,000 because that's the seeded value, and it's going to have 4 digits. I can change this. I can change this to 3 digits and maybe start from 100, right? I can define what's the max length. I can make a lot of changes here and even prefix certain IDs associated with my tickets. For example, I want it to be prefixed by ticket and then the number. I can easily do that by adding the text right here. So you can make those changes right here and you can start seeding your numbers. Once I'm done with this, I will click Create. So I've created a column called ticket number, automatic number generation. Next, I would like to create a column which is called priority, because I want the user to define the priority of the ticket, whether it's a low priority, medium, or a high priority. And because I want to provide choices to the user, I will head over to add column, call this priority, and here I will pick the option choice. And the choices that I will provide here are low, medium, and high. Feel free to experiment, feel free to add your own choice values here. This is just an example of priority values that I'm providing right here inside this column called choice. Now, choice in Dataverse is like a special type of column. It creates a separate repo, like a mini table, where it will store our choices values. However, for now, just creating this column, calling it choice. Here are my options, create. So now I've finished creating this column. Next, I want to create a column called due date. And this date we will automatically calculate based on the priority that the user selects. We will do that inside the Power App, but for now, due date, I want to create a column which would be of type date, and I will click create. Once I'm done with creating these columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns here in my table, at the bottom right, I have the option to click close. I will click close, and the table now gets created inside of my Teams environment. Plus, it gets connected to my Power App right here called tickets. Now, inside Dataverse for Teams, we have this amazing startup option called Start Screen with Data or with a Layout. So if I pick with Data, I get the option here to select my table. And let's say I pick my tickets table. So I'm going to select this. Just by doing this, what Power Apps inside Teams does is it creates a fully functional form and a gallery connection that talks to that table. So here, if I head over and preview the app, you see I don't have any records right now, but if I click on new record, it's going to start creating an item inside my data source, which is my table. And here is that form experience. So I can start putting in details. So here's my ticket name. Let's say I'm having an issue with my laptop and I want this fixed by the 17th. I can describe what the issue is, not connecting to Wi-Fi maybe. Ticket number, it's a read-only field. You see, I'm trying to type. I can't type in this field because it's an auto number column. Priority were the choices that we defined, which was low, medium, and high. I get those options right here. Let's say I pick low. I save this, and this now creates that item, that record inside my tickets table. And if I select it, I can see the information. You see the ticket number got automatically created, automatically seeded for me. The auto number was starting with 100. So the first ticket is ticket number 100, and the subsequent ticket numbers will follow. I can edit this ticket. I can delete this ticket. All of these I could do in a matter of seconds inside Dataverse for Teams. All I had to do was create a very, very simple table and have this fully baked experience. Now I'm going to stop here and try and see if we have any specific questions. So let me try and swap over to my screen, and I'm going to try and see if we have any specific questions. Do put Q in front of your question so we know that you're trying to ask a question. I'm trying to see if there is anything specific here. I can see that Dan is answering all the questions as he's going through. So question here from Ahmad is, can you change the type of the primary column name? I don't think you can change the type, but what you can do is you can change, you can create your own keys, your own primary columns inside Dataverse. You can do that. You can rename it, I believe. And even if you can change it, I don't think you can set it to all those special column types. It has to be that primary kind of column. So good question. Looking at other questions here. Here is a question from Anchan is, can I use dynamic text as prefix during table creation? From what I am aware of, I believe you can only add that static prefix text in there. Good question, but I feel you can only do the static option in there. Trying to see if there are Any other questions? Okay, I think we've answered all the current questions. Behind the scene for Dataverse. All right, Gaurav, I'll take one more question. Do we know how exactly the data is stored behind the scene for Dataverse? Is it SQL Server? So Gaurav, we covered this in the first session. Microsoft Dataverse at the back end is beefed up by SQL. It's all Azure in the cloud. It's using multiple Azure services to create this data service experience for you, which is called Microsoft Dataverse. So at the back end, it is SQL. Good question. Okay, I will switch back to the content screen and you should be able to see the Power App once again. So we will continue with our hands-on lab. Now that we've created the tickets list, I will click on this close the preview mode option on the top right. Now next, I want to create a second table here. And this table will have the category of my ticket. I want to provide another choice column type of an experience wherein the user can pick the category of the ticket. Now this, I'm going to do it a little differently. Instead of creating a choice column, I will create a secondary table. I'll explain why. So once again, inside my app experience itself, without leaving the screen, I want to add another table. So I'll go to data sources here on the left-hand side, go to add data and click on create a new table. So I'm trying to create another table here. I'm going to give this table a name called ticket category. And I will click on create. Remember, you're not limited to one table. You can create as many tables as you want. The limit is on the size of the data in your entire database for that Microsoft team, which is 2 GB. That's the hard limit. If you exceed that, you have the option of transferring it to the full Dataverse feature, which will require premium licensing. We discussed all of this in the last session. Okay, now in here, I have ticket categories. So I'm going to define what those categories are. And for each of these categories, I want to define who the approvers are. Because later on, I want to add an approval process. Depending upon the category the user picks for the ticket, I want to dynamically define my approvers, and Power Automate will come into play to start the approval process. So to do that, I created a secondary table in which I can add additional metadata. One of them is approvers. Now in this case, I'm going to try and keep it simple. Just going to use approver, and I'm going to pick the email option and click create. So I have a secondary column here of type email. Now in this is where I want to define what my ticket categories are. And right here, I can even enter data. So this is like an admin functionality. So the admin comes in and defines the ticket categories. The first one is IT. So I'm going to plug in IT. The approver, I'm going to put in my own email address right here. So I'm going to say rdorrani@thepoweraddict.onmicrosoft.com. Now the email address that you provide here has to be an account in the same tenant. Don't use your own personal accounts. You will get notified, but you won't be able to take action. Ensure that this is a user in this specific tenant. And just to show you that this is a user in my own tenant, you see the value that I've plugged in is from this tenant itself. So I'm playing the role of the approver for this specific ticket category. I'm going to add a second one called facilities. And in this case, I'm going to assign it to another user in my own tenant, Sarah. So I'm going to plug in Sarah's email address right here. If you don't have multiple users in your tenant, you can plug in your own email address for all of these options. And the third option I'm going to give is human resources. And here I am going to just copy and paste this value right here. So all I've done so far is created a second table called ticket category, in which I have added 3 categories that the user can select. And I have defined the approvers for each of those categories. Once I'm done with creating this table, once again, I will click on close. And this ticket as well now, or this table as well now, gets added to my data source for this specific app. Now I have created this secondary table, but I have not related these tables together. When the user creates a ticket, I want the user to select a ticket category. So how do I go about doing that? I will go to my tickets table, go to the three ellipses right here, and click Edit Data. This will take me back to the edit experience for my first table. And here is where I want to create a column. I will call this category. And here for the type, I will go and pick lookup. So I want to look this up from a different table. Basically, I'm trying to create a relationship now. And what is my related table? I'm going to select this, and from the list of tables that's provided here, I will go and pick my ticket category table. Now, Reza, as part of this environment, why do I see so many tables? What are all these tables? All these tables are system generated tables that get created in the backend when a Dataverse environment is set up. All you have to do is focus on your own custom tables. I just created a table called ticket category. So I'm going to just go about and select that one and click create. And this now will create a column called category. And this now will be connected to my second table that I created, which was my ticket category table. Once I'm done with this, I'll click close. So this will now refresh my data source. And if I head back to this table once again, just to confirm I have that column in place, that column is right here. And this is an edit experience. So if I was to open this, you see I get those options for IT, facilities, and HR. These are those values in the name column of my secondary table, which is ticket category. Okay, once I have this defined, now if I preview the app, and if the user tries to create a new record or a new ticket, I don't have that column value here, right? I don't see ticket category. That's because when I created this screen using that start with option, at that instant, I did not have that column. So now I have to do the work to add the column in here. And the way we do that is on the left-hand side, I can go to tree view, and right here, select this form control, and you can go right here by opening the container, and here's the form control. This is the form that has the data source that is connected to our tickets table. And in this is where I want to add that category column. And to add columns, on the right-hand side, where it says fields, you have the option to edit the fields. And when I select edit fields, I can go and add additional fields. So I'm going to click add a field and search for category. That's the column that I created in my tickets list. And I related this column to a secondary table. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick this and click add. Now, if I go and preview my app, when I'm creating a new record, I can see that option available right here. So the user can go and pick those column values as well. So that's how you can add columns to your form experience inside Dataverse for Teams. Now, in here, if I look at the steps that we've defined in our hands-on lab, we have seen that ticket number is a read-only column, so the user cannot enter data here. Category is a lookup column. Priority is a choice column. So we have multiple column types that we have tried to leverage here. And one of the options is for user to select the due date. But let's say I have a requirement wherein I would not want the user to define the due date. Rather, based on the value that the user selects in the priority dropdown, I would like to automatically set the due date. Okay, so basically when the user picks a priority, it plugs in the due date automatically. So how do we go about doing that? Now, in the hands-on lab, in the interest of time, I already have the code plugged in to the hands-on lab. So I'm just going to copy that code. I will explain it right here. I will go back here. And the step says, go ahead and select the due date card. Inside a form control, when you add fields, they get added as cards. Okay, and here's a card for due date. If I head over to the advanced property, and if I search for a property called default, this puts the default value inside that column. And right now the default value is this item dot due date, which is empty. Now I would like to change this formula. And in order for me to change the formula, I have to unlock the card. You see this small lock option here? The card is locked. It is locked to what? It is locked to the properties that it is acquiring from the table. But I would like to change it inside my Power App. I am not breaking anything. I'm just trying to add additional features to this specific data card. And in order for me to do that, I have to unlock the card. So I will click on unlock to change the properties. And now if I click on this default property, if I just click on this title here on the right hand side, it will put the default property right here on the property bar, and I can see the formula right here, which is the PowerFX formula. And this now I'm going to replace by the code that I copied from my hands-on lab, and I will click on format text. Now let me explain what this code is trying to do. Okay. Firstly, let's try and understand what this switch action is doing right here. Switch is a function wherein I can switch on a particular condition, check the matching value, and accordingly go and perform certain actions, give the result. So I'm switching on data card value 4.selected.value. Now what is data card value 4? If I was to search for data card value 4 right here on the left hand side, and if I was to select this, notice that it is the priority column inside the priority data card. So I've directly selected a column, which is that combo box control, the drop downish style control, where the user can pick a priority. So I'm relating to this column. And if I head back to my due date data card and look at this formula again, so I'm basically getting the selected value of that priority column. If that value is low, then I have a formula that says date add days to today's date. And how many days I would like to add? I would like to add 14 days. So low priority, the due date of the ticket will be 14 days from today. Medium priority, it will be 7. High priority, it will be 3. That's what I'm trying to set right here. Now you would be thinking that when I am matching the results, why can I not just write low, right? Why can't I just say low, medium, high? Why is this throwing an error? The reason is because I created priority as a choice column. And choice column in Dataverse has a concept that it gets from Dynamics, something known as option sets, like a choice, like a mini table of choices. And when I hover over this, you will see the error. It says invalid argument type text, expecting an option set value instead. And the way you can grab that is if you just search for priority. If I just, IntelliSense will guide me through. As I start typing priority, you see I get something called priority. That's the name of my column, bracket, the name of my table. If I select this, this gives me the enum, the enumeration of all the values or the choices in that column. And if I just put a dot right here after this, it will now give me the option for selecting the values. You see right here, low, medium, and high. So I'm going to pick low. So you have to pick for that enum because the type of this column is special. It's a choice column. This is not in SharePoint. You can directly compare with a string. In Dataverse, if you've used the choice column, you have to relate to the enum. I have done a video on this specifically. So if you want to check that out, it's on my channel. But I want to highlight that out that we are using that enum and this is our switch condition. Now, apart from this, I also have something else. I'm also checking if the mode of my form is new. I want to set the due date for my form or my record or my ticket only when the user is creating a new ticket. When they are updating the ticket, when they are viewing the ticket, I don't want this value to change. This is just a one-time setting where the due date gets set. So because I want to check the mode of my form control here is called edit form 1. So I'm relating to the form control dot mode and I'm checking to see if that is form mode dot new. If it is, that means the user is in the new mode of the form. In that case, apply this formula, right? So I'm just trying to check to see if that value holds true. Now, if I go back and preview this app, right now, if I just go and select a priority, observe how the due date is automatically being calculated. I picked low priority, so the due date is 14 days from today. That's the 17th of July. Medium priority, that's 7 days from today. High priority, that's 3 days from today. Automatic calculation. You can even do calculations for business days. Ken, I think I did a video on that. You can calculate business days, avoid weekends, avoid holidays, and accordingly set the due dates. You can do things like that as well. So this is complete power in your hands inside the form control for you to define how you would like to default values for any of these data cards. Now, once I have this defined here, I have this value being calculated, but the user can change it. Right? This is an editable card. I can easily make changes to this. But I want to stop the user from changing the due date because the due date is automatically defined. And the way I can do that is by selecting the data card once again, head over to properties and search for mode. There's a property called display mode, the value for which is parent.display mode. And all I have to do here is change this to display mode.view. So this becomes a read-only or a view-only data card. If I preview this, notice now I cannot change. If I pick my priority, the value is changing because it's a new form and the user cannot make any changes to the due date. It's automatically being calculated for us. So that's how easy it is for us to set this up. Next, the next step is how do we go about saving this? Of course, the same as before. I just enter details of my ticket, enter the details, click save, and the ticket gets stored directly in my database. Any questions so far? I'm going to try and once again open the floor up for questions to see if there are any specific questions on this fact. And let me switch over to content mode. Okay, trying to see if there are any questions here. My chat is catching up. Right, we have Roma in here as well, who's answering questions. Hi Roma, how are you? Thank you for joining. Will be there for passing variables. Don't forget. Trying to see if there are any specific questions that anyone has asked here. New ticket is created. I want to show. Okay, so here is a question from Key. MVP, for example, in this app Reza is building. When a new ticket is created, I want the date to show up in a specific format. So there are formulas in PowerFX that allow you to change the format of dates as well. There's something called as a text formula, a text function, and you can define your formats. So you can easily do that in there as well. Trying to see if there are any other questions. What did I miss till now? You missed nothing because all of this is being recorded and you will have all of this available on demand for watching for sure. I'll take one more question. This one's from Vincent. What is the exact programming language that is used in Power Apps? The language that is being leveraged inside of Power Apps has a name, and that name now is called PowerFX. It is very Excel-like in nature, and that's the official name of the language, which is PowerFX. Any other questions? Okay, I think we've asked or answered almost all of the questions, so I will head back to the content mode once again. So let me switch over to content so we can see my screen and continue plugging away with creating the information. Now, the next thing that I would like to, the next step that I would like to take here after creating this is to add another column of choice, which will be the status of my ticket. Now, whenever the user creates a ticket, it needs to have a status like pending, approved, rejected. So for that, I need another column. Now, Reza, I could have created that column at the first time itself. Well, I purposely did not add it the first time because I wanted to show you how you can go back and keep changing the values in the tables or the schema of the table. So once again, I'll go to data, I'll go to tickets, click the three ellipses and go to edit data. I need another column. So I'll click on add. I will call this ticket status. I need choices. So I'll pick choice and I'll define my choices here. Pending, approved, and rejected. These are the three ticket statuses that I would like to have as part of my process. So I went back, I modified the schema of my table. I'll click create. This will create the specific column in this table. I will click close. Once again, I am back in my app experience. Now I want this column as well on my form. So I will select my form control. Once again, go to properties, edit fields, same steps as before. Add a field, search for ticket status, click add. And if I preview the app, I should have the ticket status drop down option or combo box option right here for me to select from. So that's how I can pick the ticket statuses. Now we've done some manipulation with the due date column wherein we made it read only and we set default values. We are going to do the same thing for the ticket status column. I do not want the user to pick the status of the ticket. I want the ticket status to by default be pending whenever the user creates a new ticket. So for that, once again, I will select the data card for tickets, go to advanced. I am making a change. So I will unlock the card, search for default, select this, and here I'm going to plug in a very simple formula. I want to change the default value of the ticket only when the ticket is in new mode or the form is in new mode. So my formula will be if, it's a function, if my form, which is edit form 1 dot mode is equal to form mode dot new, that means the user is creating a new ticket. In that case, set the default value as pending. I created this column as a choice. That means I need to use that enum functionality. So I can start typing ticket status and you can search for ticket status. That's the name of my column. That's the bracket, the name of my table. I'll pick this dot. What's the default value I want to set? I want to set it to pending. If it is not in new mode, that is the user is viewing it or editing it, in that case, I will set the default value to this item dot the actual value that this column has, which is the ticket status column, whatever is there in that field. I will close this. And this now, if I preview the app, observe, I'm creating a new record. It defaulted it to pending. If I select an existing record, or if I cancel this and select an existing record, it will have its original value. It's empty here because when I created that, this column did not even exist. But when I create a new record, see how this value is defaulting. Next, the user can change this. I do not want the user to change this. So I have two options. One, I can search for the mode and just change the display mode of this to display mode.view. So this will be read only. Additionally, I can even completely hide this column. So without the user even knowing about it, this column is hidden in the new mode, but the status is being set to pending. And for that, I can search for the visible property and just plug in a very simple formula that says if the form mode, so form.mode is not equal to form mode.new. That means if the form is not equal to new mode, do not show this or show this. In this case, it's a new mode. I don't even see that column. It's there. It's just hidden. And the value is being set to pending. And how do I know that? Let's test it out. Let's create a new ticket. I'm going to call this sample. Let's say I pick priority. You see how the due date is being calculated. I'll click save. Here's my sample ticket. Here are the details. Ticket number, auto-generated, ticket status, set to pending thanks to that formula I plugged in, priority, due date, all the values are in place. So that's how you can literally play with data cards by making manipulations to those formulas. Now, the next step is I want to set some required fields. In Dataverse, when I created those tables, I can set them to required there. However, in my form itself, I do have the option to make it mandatory if I want to. So for example, right now, description is not a mandatory column. If I want to make that mandatory, if I search for the required property, I'm making a change. Once again, unlock, go to the property. If I need the user to have this field filled out, I just set this to true. Let's preview the app. Let's create a new record. See, description is a mandatory field. If I try and save this, it won't allow me. I can easily make fields mandatory. I can make fields mandatory based on conditions as well. If the priority is high, then ensure that the description is mandatory. You can easily do that by writing a very simple formula there. If the value in this column is high, then set this to true. Otherwise, set it to false. You have the complete power to define how you want the configuration of your form to play out. Now, the next step that I would like to take now in the interest of time is the hands-on lab has different things. I'm trying to show different things here. Once we are done with this, once you've built your app, once you're satisfied with how your app looks, how your app works, I want to push this out to Microsoft Teams so that members of my team can start using this app. And for that, all I have to do is click on one magic button, which is called Publish to Teams. So I'm going to select Publish to Teams, which will publish this app. I will click Next. Okay, try it again, click Next. And this now will launch the dialog, which will list out all the channels of my team. Remember, we are building Power Apps inside of Teams. You have to push the app out to a channel only in that team. And this team only has one channel called General. If I want to push it out, I'll just click on this plus icon here, which says Add App as a tab. I select this and click Save and Close, and that is it. Once this thing closes, we will have the app available as a tab inside of Microsoft Teams. If I go to Teams, and if I go to my team, which is called Live Team, this is my team. Here I have the tab called Help Desk App. If I select this, and try and refresh my browser as well, this should now load that same Power App right here in the context of Teams. And check this out. I can create a new record. Here are my details. Let's say I need some training now. I know that makes no sense for a ticket, but I can't pick the due date. I have to enter the description. I cannot enter the ticket number. It's automatically getting calculated. I can easily hide it in the new mode of the form. I'll pick the priority, which will calculate the due date, and I will define my category and click Save. And just like that, this record got added to my table, and I can see all the details related to that record right here. So those are the steps for us to create a simple Power App so the user can go and interact with it. Now, how do I share this app with my team members? Very simple. You just have to share, or you just have to ensure that those users are a part of your team. So for this team, if I head over to the settings of my team, so if I go to Manage Team, currently I am the only user in this team. Let me add a user called, so add a member. I'll just add a couple of users to my team quickly. I will add Sarah and I will add James. All right, Sarah and James, welcome to my team. Basically, you also have access now to my app. If now I try and sign in with either Sarah or James, so here is Sarah trying to sign in to Microsoft Teams on the web. Okay, Teams is loading up for Sarah. have noticed Teams on the browser is extremely slow today. All right, so here's Teams. Sarah is a part of the team, so Sarah can see the live team. And right here, if I head over to Help Desk app, remember I did not share the app with anyone. This is Power Apps inside of Teams. Automatically, the members of my team get access to that Power App. So here I have Sarah, who is launching that same Power App inside Microsoft Teams. And here is the app live. Sarah can see all the tickets that were created in the system. Sarah can go and create her own tickets right here. I can click on plus and say, you know what, I have an issue with my phone. It's a medium priority issue, not connecting. Everything's not connecting today. I'll pick a category for IT or in fact facilities. Click save. And just like that, Sarah was able to contribute inside the same Power App. And how do I handle permissions? What if my use case is such that members should only be able to see the tickets that they have created, or members should not be able to edit or delete tickets that were created by other members? How do I set that kind of security? For that, back to Power Apps inside of Microsoft Teams. As an owner of that team, I'll go to build. This will list out all my teams. I will go to my team, which was the live team. Click. Wait for the artifacts to load up. I will click see all. Right here, I'll go to tables. These were the tables that I created. One of the tables is ticket. This is where all the contribution is happening by all my users. I will head over to manage permissions. Owners by default have full access. That cannot be changed. Owners can do anything in the table. Members who are members of my team, for example, Sarah and James, currently they have full access to the table. That means they can add, edit, delete records for anyone. But let's say I want to change that. I want them to create records, update and delete their own records, and read all records. If that's my requirement, I will change this to collaborate for members and click save. And just like that, I have changed the security of my table. And the Power App now will respect that. The change that I just made in the form of the permissions, wherein I went to manage permissions and gave members collaborate, this can take a few minutes to take effect. Once it does, when Sarah logs into the app, so let me try and refresh this. So Sarah is back in Teams. Sarah launches the Power App, and let's say Sarah is going to try and delete a ticket. It may work, it may not. It did because the changes are not yet in effect. But once that permission changes come into play, Sarah will not be able to edit or delete any records that were created or that were not created by her. So you can define the security in those tables itself. So I'm going to stop here once again and try and look at what questions we have in the chat. And by the way, that completed the hands-on lab module 1. If you go through all the steps that I've provided in that lab, this is exactly where you land up with. You land up with an app that has a fully functional experience with tables in Microsoft Dataverse. All right, let's try and see what questions we have. I know a lot of questions are being answered, but I'll try and see which ones I can bring up on the screen. So I have a question from Ricky. Is the 2 GB limit for Dataverse for team per app? No, the limit is not per app. The limit is per team. That is, the database in your team has a limit of 2 gigs. All right, trying to see if there are any other questions that are in here. Okay, here's another good question. It's Ricky again, but I like this question. What would be the use case to use the app in Teams instead of a Canvas app and embed it in Teams? Now, in the scenario here that I am showcasing, I am leveraging Dataverse. That's my database. If I was to build it outside of the scope of Teams, yes, I can embed it in Teams as a tab, but in that case, If I want to use Dataverse, I need the full license. I need the premium license. In this case, the goal is to be within the context of that team so I can leverage Microsoft Dataverse for Teams at no additional cost. Having said that, nothing stops me from building this exact same solution in Power Apps outside of the context of Teams, of course. But in that case, if I am leveraging Dataverse as a database, I have to pay the premium license cost. You always have the option of upgrading. So start small. Start with Dataverse for Teams. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, you are hitting those limits. Your system is growing over time. You need the full power of Dataverse. You always have that option to move up. You cannot go from a solution that you've built outside of Teams into Teams. You can, but you have to do a lot of work. But for moving from Dataverse for Teams to the full Dataverse experience, it's a simple button click. Okay, John is asking a question. Can you show the text to make the field required based on a condition? Okay, so let's try and see how we can do something like this. So make the field required based on a condition. Again, it's something I'm going to try and do live. So I will head back to my Teams, and I want to sign in not as Sarah. So let me come back in this time as my account again. So I will log in with Teams. So I'm heading to teams.microsoft.com. All right. Okay, I'm in the wrong tenant. I'm sorry. Where is my account? Sorry, I got lost. Just trying to get in to my right tenant. Sorry, I have multiple tenants. All right, here I am back in my right tab. I will head over to apps, go back to my Power App because I want to modify this. I believe the name was John. John wants me to add conditional validation, and maybe the use case is if the priority of the ticket is high, then please make description a mandatory column. So let's take that use case, John. In that case, if I preview the app right now and try and create a new ticket, description is always mandatory. But let's try and change this. Let's try and change this to when the priority is high. So to do that, I will pick the description data card, go to advanced, search for the required field, which we hard coded as true. We're going to change this. And the way we will change this is based on the priority value. So I'll pick the column, which is the priority column inside the priority card. It's a combo box. I'll get its name. So I'm going to copy the name, go back to description. The required field formula would be my data card value 4, which is my combo box control, dot selected dot value is equal to, now I need the priority enum. So I want to search for priority and pick the table name along with it. So priority of tickets dot high. So if the ticket is high priority, make description a required field. This will result in a true or a false. If I preview the app, description is not mandatory right now. You don't see the star symbol. If I change this to high, see how description comes alive. If I change this to medium, you see it's not a mandatory field anymore. If I preview this, there's only one required field, that's the name. If I change this to high, click save, this time description is mandatory. So that's how you can conditionally add logic to make any column mandatory based on other specific column values. So I hope that was useful. Thanks for the question, John. All right. Any other questions here? From where can I view the? Okay, so here's a question from Ahmad. From where can I view the Dataverse table? If you go back to Power Apps inside of Teams, if you select your team from the left-hand navigation rail in the Build tab, that's how I went to the table to change the permissions. Right there, you have your table. You can see the data. You can edit the schema. You have all of those options available right there. All right. Here's a question from Muthu. which is custom alert in pop-up screen for validation. Is it possible? You can add your own alerts whenever you want. There is a function called notify in Power Apps, which kind of creates a heading like experience wherein you can specify a message to the user, so you can use that function, or you can build your own custom component that just pops up a message based on specific conditions. So those options are available. If you wanted on validation, you would have to make the check whether there is a validation error or not. Uh, I know I've done a video on validation. I know Dan has. Many other folks have done validation specific videos. So look at those. I know I did my validation scenarios wherein I showed my own message. So check that out. All right. It's a question from Vincent. Can you share the app also in a private channel? The answer to this is no. Dataverse for Teams, when you push it out to a channel, that channel cannot be a private channel. That is one of the limitations of Dataverse for Teams. And the reason is purely because private channels, the architecture is very conceptually very different. It creates a separate SharePoint site, the security is separate, and it does not just flow into the concept for Dataverse for Teams. So that's the reason why as of now, as of today, it is not available. All right. Any other questions? Put a Q in front of them so I can quickly grab them. All right, here's a question from Robin. What would we do if we want to publish the Power Apps to all teams in the organization? Now, Dataverse for Teams, Power Apps for Teams is ideally meant for one team, right? You're building something for a specific team. If you want other users to consume that Power App, you have the option of sharing your app with colleagues. I covered that in the last session. That session recording is available, wherein you can define who are your users who are not a part of the team but can have access to the Power App. In the last session, I said you can share it with a security group that can have up to 1,000 users. Our sessions are being watched. So I had a comment from the Microsoft rep, the product team. They told me that it's increased now. The limit is now 10,000. So I can build this help desk app that I just created. I can share it with members and guest users of my team. I believe a team can have up to 5,000 or 10,000 users. So they can have access to the app. Plus, you can additionally include another 10,000 users by using the share with colleagues feature. So that option is available. If your goal is to build an app that can just go to every team, you cannot share that single app. You'll have to share a template of that app. So each team gets their own version of that app. So it is possible, but not on an organization-wide scale. I hope I was able to answer your question, Robin. Okay, trying to look at other questions. So here's a question from Ian. How does the Power Apps license work in this case? Does all users of the app need a license or only the developer? In this case, the only license, especially for the solution that I built today, the only license that the users would need is a license to access Microsoft Teams. As long as they have a valid license to access Teams, they could be an owner, they could be a member, they could be a guest user. They will have access to that Power App at no additional license cost. However, in the Power App, if I was to connect to any premium data sources, let's say in this app, I connect to SQL to get some data from SQL. SQL is a premium connector. If I do that, every user who is accessing the app would require a premium license. So to answer your question, as long as you are within the realms of Dataverse for Teams, you're using Dataverse, you're using standard connectors, you do not need any additional licensing cost. All you need is a basic standard Office license. Okay, trying to look at questions. All right, can we have some control of? All right, Radhika is asking a question. Can we have same control of permission without Dataverse? So Radhika, when you say without Dataverse, it could mean a million other data sources. So I'll have to take some examples. So let's say SharePoint. Can I build something like this in SharePoint? Yes, I could have connected to SharePoint as a data source. I would have to set the security in SharePoint. Possible, yes. That's a little bit more work. I have to enable row level security. SharePoint permissions act up after 2000 records. The performance starts degrading. So not a great data source if you want to do very specific permissions. Can I do this in SQL? Obviously, yes. That is a possibility. So it depends on your data source, to be very honest. But can you have the same control? The answer is yes. Okay, trying to see if there are any other questions. All right, Moho says, is it possible to make the app look more visually appealing? Plus 10 on your comment, Moho. Yes, there are various options to make the app much more visually appealing. I know a lot of folks who make apps and design apps really well. There's someone called Yusuf. I don't remember his last name right now, but Yusuf. You can connect with me after this, and I'll give you his reference. He makes some amazing apps, amazing looking apps. Geeta has done some. Geeta is another MVP who's done some good work in designing apps. Uh, there are many other folks who build these visually appealing apps. You have full control over the UI. You can change the UI as you like. By default, what I showed you today is what you get. That is not what you have to live with. You can change the style of any control in Power Apps. I think I did a full video on gallery designs. I showed 6 or 7 styles of gallery designs that you can choose from. I'm sure Dan has done a lot of different videos that cover different visual indicators. So I would definitely recommend these names. Having said that, is it possible to make it more appealing? Yes, we can make it a lot more visually appealing. Okay. Trying to see if there are any other questions. Foyan is also here answering questions. Hi, Foyan. Okay, so Power Rudy. I like that name, Power Rudy. I can use Power Reza. I was testing in here, and I was able to open the app using a URL that redirected me to the mobile app. That was great. This is common practice. So I'm assuming you're talking about Dataverse for Teams. The app that we just built today, the only way I can access it from my mobile app is by going to Teams. I have to go to the Teams mobile app, and from there, I have to go to my team and then select that specific tab so the Power App launches. Can I do deep linking? Yes, you can directly link to Teams to that specific app inside the mobile device. Those things are possible. These apps that we build in Dataverse for Teams, these are not available in the Power Apps mobile app. You have to go to Teams. So I hope I was able to answer your question, Rudy. All right, trying to see if there are any other questions. All right, this is a good question from Key. Is there a way to prevent team members from modifying the table structure or even deleting the whole table through Power Apps UI? I just reconfirmed that a non-owner cannot do it. That is correct. So the way the permission works today, owners and members can create tables and they can modify the schema. I can revoke access for members, right? I can say, you know what, members on this table, they don't have full access, like I just did in the example I showed. I just want to give them read access or collaborate access. Now, can they delete the entire table? Can they delete the entire schema? Unfortunately, yes, they can. Even though I've revoked the access on the data, you cannot revoke the access on the table. I believe this is a bug that the team is working on. I have some surprises planned for these live sessions. I'm waiting to be surprised myself. So if those folks who I've called in, if they show up, they will in the future calls. This will be a fantastic question to ask them. I'm very sure that they are working on this. That should not be the case. Members should not be able to modify the schema if I have revoked their access, but today they can. So I hope I was able to answer your question, Key. All right. What other questions do we have? Um, okay, another great question here from Ahmad. Do we need to use components and Power Apps for Teams? So I'll tell you what. Components currently is a preview feature. That's one. Second, local components are deprecated or are going to be deprecated. So do not use local components. In Dataverse for Teams today, you can only create local components. We know that local components are being deprecated. Components is an experimental or a preview feature. Do not use it right now in Dataverse for Teams. The recommended approach is to use component libraries. Component libraries are not yet available in Dataverse for Teams. So to answer your question, I would recommend you not to use it for now inside of Dataverse for Teams. All right. What other questions do we have? Okay, here is a question from Raja. Is it possible to use on-premise gateway to link up your Dataverse? I'm pretty sure the answer to this is no. Dataverse for Teams is only in the cloud. It's for Microsoft Teams, and that environment that gets created is in the cloud, and there are limits to that environment. One of them is that 2 GB limit. So no, you cannot link. Now, inside my app, can I connect to an on-premises connector? Yes, but if you do that, your app becomes premium and all the users would need the premium license. If you're talking about connecting to a connector, then it's possible, but the license goes premium. All right, any other question? Okay, here's a great question from Ricky again. Is there a way to migrate your Canvas app to Dataverse for Teams, or you have to build that from scratch? So in the last session, I demoed 3 solutions that I created in Dataverse for Teams. 2 of them were apps that I built outside of Dataverse and I brought it into Dataverse. Now, export and import of solutions is an option today that you can leverage. So you can export your app, your tables, your structures, your components in a solution, and you can bring them in to Dataverse. There is an import feature available. So you can use that and build your apps in here and bring your apps in here. Okay, I have to put this one up. This is from Deepak. Deepak says, when will we get a chance to hear a live song from you as you're a good singer? Hey, Deepak, hi. Uh, Deepak and I go a long way back. I know Deepak knows that I sing. Yeah, I have a fascination for singing, but Deepak, I stopped that long back ago. Maybe if the audience demands it, maybe in one session. Let's see. Okay. We share LinkedIn IDs. Okay. Any other questions? I think I've answered almost every question here, and all my MVP friends, Dan, Deepak, Roma, Foyan, Krishna, they are all there answering questions. So thank you so much. You're making it a lot easier for me to pick questions because most of them are already answered. Okay, so I don't see any other questions in chat. So we've already covered the 1 hour time frame. In fact, we are 15 minutes over. So we will close out for today. And if you have not executed the hands-on labs, I will recommend you to do so, because the next time we meet, which is next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to share the next hands-on lab, which will be to create a flow for approvals. So right now, the ticket got created, the ticket went in our tables in Dataverse, and that information got stored. Now we will build a flow on top of that that will get triggered when a ticket gets created. The flow will look at the category of the ticket, go to our secondary table, which has the approver for the category of the ticket, will dynamically pick that information, and will create an adaptive card in Teams and assign a task to that approver to approve or reject the ticket. And based on their decision, the ticket status would be modified, and the owner or the person who created the ticket would get notified about it. So next week is going to be all about flows in Dataverse for Teams. It'll be the next hands-on lab. Of course, I had to have this built because we are going to continue from here. So if you would like to execute that step by step with me next week, be there. Of course, I'll try and add more things, answer a lot of your questions. And thank you so much for joining me today. Dan, I'm bringing you up on screen. Dan, you're coming on. Okay. And here's Dan again. Thank you, Dan, for joining me live today. And I hope this session was useful for everyone.
It was awesome.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone. See you all next week.